All right, I call the Vallejo Planning Commission regular meeting to start at 7:02 p.m. We will start with the first agenda item, which is the call to order. Or, excuse me, and we'll start with the pledges of allegiance. Okay. Commissioner Blinds, if you could lead us off, please.
Sure. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Great, thank you, Commissioner Blinds, for leading that. So we're going to go to the next agenda item, which is roll call.
Thank you, Chair. I would like to make the Planning Commission aware that Commissioner Philip Villabuena has resigned from the Planning Commission. So he's no longer Planning Commissioner. I do want to say thank you for his time, and we appreciate his input and time as a member of the Planning Commission. So to start with that, Commissioner Beasley Sansbury,
Present.
Commissioner Medeiros,
I'm here.
Commissioner Blind,
Present.
Chair Taylor,
Present.
Commissioner White,
Present.
Vice Chair Douglas absent. We have a quorum.
Great, thank you. And so we're going to move to the next agenda item, which is the consent calendar and approval of the agenda. We will go with approval for the agenda and the minutes. We can get a motion to approve the agenda and minutes from the February 18, 2016 regular meeting.
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
I need 2 more votes. We have 5 ayes and the motion carries.
All right, great, thank you. So we will move to the next agenda item, which is report of the City Council liaison. Councilmember Matulik.
Good evening, Chair Taylor, commissioners, staff, and the general public. I want to thank everyone for being here tonight. No major report right now, but I just want to make this commission aware that tomorrow we actually have our special meeting for our city council, and the whole agenda is basically the work plans for all the commissions and boards. And just to let you know, this is one of the few commissions that did not have a work plan submitted for us to review tomorrow. So just wanted to, I know I recommend that on a regular basis, but if we can get something like that rolling. And just to give you an understanding, the primary reason for some of those or many of those was, number one, to identify their work plan, but a lot of them were to ask for any mid-year budget adjustments. So in other words, all commissions and boards are allotted $1,000. This commission is special for the fact that your allotment is more than $1,000 because of the things that are built into the things that you guys already do. So you already have a budget that's larger than the $1,000 allocated for it, like the other commissions and boards may have, many of the other ones. But for example, economic development a couple of years ago submitted a work plan asking for I think it was over $10,000 for their plan to help with economic development in the downtown area. So it's things like that where if you have something that may look to adjusting your budget that you have allocated for you, that's the purpose of the work plan. But primarily it's to give you guys a focus and a structure of something that you guys are envisioning over the next year or 2 years. So once again, I'm recommending that, and that's part of what you guys have been working on, is getting a work plan put together, so that way you guys can have some level of focus and agenda. And just to let you know, Councilmember Matias and I, we are primarily putting economic development and the Planning Commission at the forefront, because if you're probably all aware that we're facing a budget deficit right now. And so we, last year, the council, or basically after the past couple of years, the council has been putting public safety as the primary focus on that, and the fact we've achieved some of the goals on that, what we've realized is economic development has kind of fell a little bit behind of where we would like it to be right now. So this is where Councilmember Matias and I have been looking towards that dual collaboration between the Planning Commission and economic development to kind of help kickstart a lot of the economic development that we're looking to and hoping to rely on to improve a lot of the economic status that we have here in Vallejo. So that is, and this commission is primarily the forefront of that, where you set up the zoning, you set up a lot of the specific plans where you can look at how to improve and which overlaps in some of the economic development. So that's where we have been encouraging some collaboration with the economic development to kind of look at some of these specific areas, and the fact that now that our financial budget situation is something that we want to focus on now. Maybe that may be part of the primary focus moving forward. So that would be the end of my report. Any questions at this point? If none, thank you so much.
Yeah, I think that's on our agenda tonight.
I'm sorry?
That's on our agenda.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, great. Thank you, Councilmember Matilic. I appreciate the update. All right, so we can move to the next agenda item, which is the community forum. And the community forum is anyone who wishes to address the commission on any matter for which another opportunity to speak is not provided on the agenda, and which is within the jurisdiction of the Planning Commission to resolve. At this moment, we'll give open of the community forum and give 3 minutes for each speaker if we have any available. And if we do not have any speakers, we can give it some time, and then we can move on to the next, possibly?
Through the chair, we do have one member of the public with their hand raised on Zoom.
Okay, absolutely.
Kristen Bautista, please unmute yourself. You have the floor.
Good evening, Chair and Commissioners. My name is Kristen Bautista, and I live in Hunter's Ranch. I'm here because since June 2025, our residential neighborhood has been turned into a commercial traffic corridor due to the Admiral Callahan Lane closure. When this closure was announced, the community was given a clear impression that it would be temporary and well managed. Instead, the timeline has continued to shift, with extensions and limited transparency. From a resident's perspective, this feels like a bait and switch. We agreed to one level of disruption, and we are now living with something far more severe and prolonged. The detour signage is not working. It does nothing to stop heavy retail traffic from pouring through neighborhood streets. On weekends, we're seeing thousands of cars cutting through. On weekdays, hundreds more than normal. This is not just frustrating, it's dangerous. We are seeing speeding, tailgating, accidents, near misses, pedestrian danger, blocked intersections, and drivers using residential streets that were not designed for this kind of volume. Children live here, families walk here. This is supposed to be a neighborhood, not an overflow route for retail traffic. The community should not be absorbing the safety risks and quality of life impacts of the prolonged construction delays. We're asking for full transparency about the true project timeline and the reasons for the ongoing extensions. Immediate traffic mitigation beyond signage, including enforcement and physical traffic calming measures, and accountability for how this planning failure has been allowed to continue at the expense of residents. Development should not come at the cost of neighborhood safety. We expect action, not just updates. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing. That is appear to be some serious issues there in terms of traffic in a residential area where commercial traffic is being directed. I believe this is a matter that Planning Commission, I'm sure Public Works can probably look into and figure out some ways to mitigate this. But we can give our team some time to think about it. So thank you for sharing. Do we have anyone else who would like to speak in our public forum?
No other speakers with their hands raised at this time, Chair.
Great, thank you. And again, I want to thank the community for sharing their concerns and what they're experiencing as a result to some of our projects in the city of Vallejo. So we're going to move on to the next agenda item, which is the public hearing to adopt resolution accepting and recommending City Council approval of the General Plan and Housing Element Annual Progress Report for the calendar year 2025.
Through the chair,
Yes.
right before the staff presentation, I do want to note for the record that Vice Chair Douglas has joined the Planning Commission this evening.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Good evening, Chair Taylor, members of the commission. My name is Robert Busick. I am senior planner here at City of Vallejo. Here tonight to talk about the 2025 General Plan Annual Progress Report, or APR. Okay. We'll start tonight by speaking about the Propel Vallejo General Plan, which projects out through 2040. It defines a vision for future change and guides the location and character of development. It does include a number of goals, policies, and programs aimed at enhancing Vallejo's economy, conserving resources, improving public services and safety, and fostering community well-being. Okay. The annual progress report is required for every municipality in California. It must be submitted annually to both the Governor's Office of Land Use and Climate Innovation, or LCI, and California Department of Housing and Community Development by April 1st each year. It provides the Planning Commission, City Council, and the state with a progress report on the implementation of the general plan, as well as the jurisdictional share of the Regional Housing Needs Allocation, or RHNA. Next. Do you happen to know which one? Okay. Cool. All right. So we'll go over some of the general plan implementation progress that we've made this year. The housing element adoption and zoning implementation was included in the sixth cycle housing element, which covers the period of 2023 through 2031. This sixth cycle housing element was adopted in December of 2024. It included general plan, land use map, zoning map, and zoning ordinance amendments, mainly to ensure that the city can accommodate its RHNA, which is consistent with programs within the housing element. And this advances general plan goal CP-2, providing diverse housing opportunities. All right. So other activities that were furthering our general plan goals this year in calendar year 2025. February 2025, the City Council did approve the purchase of solar streetlight equipment and used those solar streetlights to retrofit damaged streetlights along Curtola Parkway between Lemon and Napa Streets. This project was funded by an energy efficiency and conservation block grant and advances a number of general plan goals aimed at creating a healthy community, providing high quality infrastructure and services, and making Vallejo a place where people want to be. Next slide. Sweet. Another major furtherance of the general plan goals, in March 2025, the City Council authorized membership and legislative advocacy contributions to the Solano Transportation Authority for the next 2 fiscal years. STA is Solano County's regional transportation agency, coordinating planning, funding, and advocacy for roadway safety, transit connectivity, and mobility. Vallejo's participation in this agency ensures access to state, federal funding continues, and that countywide transportation coordination also continues. This advances general plan goals aimed at providing a multimodal transportation system and also ensuring that Vallejo has high quality infrastructure and services. Next slide. In November of 2025, The Planning Commission approved development of 130 single-family residences located at 201 Rollingwood Drive. This advances the general plan goals to provide diverse housing opportunities, create complete neighborhoods, and provide high-quality infrastructure and services for the city. Next slide. All right. So in 2025, the main focus on the annual progress report is just providing an update on our housing unit production, the regional housing needs allocation for the city of Vallejo for the sixth cycle, so the period 2023 through 2031, was to provide 2,900 total units. As you can see in the central sections of the table, we've provided progress on the housing unit production broken down by the previous years within that sixth cycle element period, with the numbers for 2025 highlighted and divided between affordability for the housing, between very low income, moderate income, and above moderate income. In 2025, Vallejo issued building permits for 193 housing units, including 7 very low income, affordable to households with very low income, 33 affordable to households with low income, and 10 affordable to households with moderate income, and then the remainder, the bulk of 143 units affordable to households with above moderate income. To date, or as of calendar year 2025, that means Vallejo has produced 530 units towards its RHNA requirements, leaving 2,370 units remaining to issue building permits through 2031. Also included in this report, we cover some of the activities within the housing element. There are a number of programs, and progress has been made on a number of those through calendar year 2025. One of the programs that had significant activity in 2025 was program F1.1.3 for renter protection and housing stability. A $1.4 million One Bay Area grant fund was reprogrammed for downtown specific plan update. This funding supports the citywide engagement and feasibility analysis for anti-displacement policies within the specific plan update. This work will inform potential ordinances, including rent stabilization, just cause, evictions, anti-harassment, and right to counsel. This work is anticipated to be complete in 2026. Next slide, please. All right. The next program where activity occurred in 2025 was towards our inclusionary housing ordinance. The city has contracted with EPS to prepare the inclusionary housing and in lieu fee feasibility analysis. This feasibility study was completed in June of 2025 and presented at joint Planning Commission and City Council study sessions in 2025. This analysis found that residential prototypes were not financially feasible, even before affordability requirements or new fees. In November 2025, staff received the direction to proceed with ordinance drafting and incorporate flexibility to address those feasibility concerns. This draft ordinance is anticipated in mid-2026. And related to that, on the next slide, the commercial linkage fee, EPS completed their Nexus study in June 2025 in conjunction with the inclusionary feasibility study. This was also presented at joint Planning Commission and City Council study sessions in July and November of 2025. Again, the direction for staff in November of 2025 was to proceed with drafting the linkage fee ordinance, and the draft ordinance is anticipated in mid-2026. And with that, concludes my 2025 APR update. I'm available to answer any questions you may have.
Great, thank you. At this moment, should we open up to the public?
Thanks.
Excuse me, I'm sorry, with that. Yeah, so thank you for the presentation, I appreciate it. At this moment, should we open up to the public for any comments?
Through the chair, it's up to you. Typically, it's the part where the planning commission asks any questions to the staff. After that, then you would open the public hearing, accept any public comment, and then.
Great, all right, thank you. All right, so we're going to open up for any questions. Any in the planning commission have any comments or questions?
Sure, through the chair, I've got a few. First of all, nice work putting this all together. It's very thorough. Start off with some recognition. The solar streetlights is a great program. It seems small sometimes when we think about the net impact we're trying to have with like our regional housing allowance and these thousands of units we need to build. But I'd just like to commend anyone that worked on that project. It's a really nice thing. You take our infrastructure that's failing right now and figure out a cost-effective means to literally build on top of it and make something functional on top of something that's not functional. And I saw those go in different areas of the town, and I just thought that was small things that actually start to accumulate to something big. So congratulations on that small thing that accumulates to something big. A couple questions I had with I guess it was related to some of the studies that EPS did. There's nothing in there that talked about mixed use developments as either a prototype. It's not a commercial development, and it's not any of the prototypes we analyzed for the inclusionary housing ordinance. But I continue to believe it's a sweet spot in what we could do with redeveloping some of our streetscapes, like Tennessee, Springs, a lot of these other ones that are now not in the best of times, that are on transit corridors, and so they would check that box for new housing if we could put some housing on top of these existing commercial units. So again, I encourage you all to think about how we can do a study that considers that prototype and considers how we would be able to move forward and create some efficiencies in the zoning code in order to encourage that prototype, and if it's potentially more feasible financially than these other prototypes, if there's a way that we can add inclusionary housing to it or commercial linkage to it or both. So again, has any thought gone into the mixed use?
Yeah, absolutely. Hector Rojas, Long-Range Planning Manager for the city. Really good to be here with you tonight. I haven't seen you guys for a while, so pleasure to be here. Yeah, as far as mixed use is concerned, while it wasn't something that we looked at in terms of the EPS studies for feasibility and nexus, it's definitely something that we're going to start to take a look at in the downtown and waterfront specific plans. We do have economic experts that are going to be sub-consultants to that team of consultants that is going to develop and prepare the specific plans to look exactly at that situation where we have the market conditions right now and into the foreseeable future. What is there a demand for? What are the different types of commercial and housing, including mixed-use prototypes that should be developed in the downtown and can most easily be developed? So although unfortunately we did not include that in terms of the inclusionary housing, it is something that we're moving forward in the specific plan updates.
Okay, thank you. And then two other ones I had, and I'll pass my time on. Two other elements that I think are particularly worthwhile to continue pushing is like D111, the sweat equity aspects of this, as well as G2.11. Both of these are kind of a common theme that you'll hear from me at least, is how can we use our existing stock of housing to make sure it doesn't fall into disrepair, to become unlivable, or to fall out of affordable housing altogether because it's no longer deed restricted or whatever the case may be. And as the same kind of vein, allow people to access some forms of funding so that they can put some sweat equity in some of these properties, and maybe someone that is trying to climb the income ladder could potentially put something into these buildings of their own sweat that would allow them to get a foothold. So again, I'd encourage you, again, to me, it's of a piece with the mixed use, which is like, how can we leverage our existing housing stocks? I feel like we continually are always figuring out what green fields we can go to and what developers we can encourage to come to these open areas and then build us new housing of the type that we need. And instead, I think we need to focus as much as we can on these brownfields, these areas that need to be redeveloped, that are blighted currently, that are vacant currently, and create housing and commercial opportunities in the same place. Those are my couple points, that just words of encouragement to try to like push you into that direction, so that we're not constantly focused on these developer opportunities that are large scale, that have to go through an entire process. And there's a whole bunch of now CEQA exemptions for infill construction that will streamline a lot of those developments that I think we can capitalize on. So that's it for me.
Yes, and speaking of brownfield construction, has mixed-use planning been considered at all for Sonoma Boulevard? Because that was a big challenge in the last city council meeting from, I believe, Council Matias, in that he wanted or challenged the Planning Commission to look at the specific plan, or whatever it's called, for Sonoma Boulevard, to challenge some of the zoning and land use designations along there. And we know that that's a hugely challenged area. Speaking of blight and buildings that have not been maintained for decades, some of them. So I would really challenge staff to think about that for Sonoma Boulevard specifically.
Through the chair, so the Sonoma Boulevard specific plan, when it was originally adopted in 2017, it was designed and drafted up and approved by City Council, which started from Sonoma Boulevard, which was south of Cortola Parkway, which is like one parcel south of Cortola Parkway, all the way up to along Sonoma Boulevard to Redwood, which also includes one parcel north of Redwood. So that's what implements the Sonoma Boulevard specific plan. When the Planning Commission made a recommendation to City Council and City Council adopted the new zoning code, what happened was we created the Central Commercial Corridor Zoning District, which implements the Sonoma Boulevard specific plan, which is all the way from Cortola Parkway to the border of American Canyon. So the CC zoning district does allow different variety of different uses, or mixed use, that kind of like Commissioner Blind was speaking of having a commercial use on the ground floor with residential above, or vice versa, full-on residential and a variety of different type of commercial uses. Depending on the type of use, they may be permitted within that CC zoning district, or could require a discretionary permit that's either acted on by the director or would come before the Planning Commission. So currently, as it sits, it does envision a different type of uses that would be allowed along the Sonoma Boulevard specific plan.
Thank you for that. I also wanted to thank you for your report and the update. And I know that neighborhood mixed use is something that we've discussed, or at least I have discussed with Cesar and Hector, and I know that that is in the, while it's not going to be in the making immediately, I know that that is the plan, that's the trajectory. One of the, I think what we are, the only issue we're missing is that we still do have a lack of capital. And when I looked at the grant amount, it was, pretty small at 1.4 million. That's not a lot of money. Even if it's a feasibility study, it's not much. And so I think one of the things that, while we have these plans and desires, a lot of times we're forgetting that there is a lack of access and a lack of capital that we have here. And I want to challenge us to, I know we have a grant writer, and I know that folks are working diligently, but I want to challenge us to, really push for the neighborhood mixed use. I've been screaming from the rooftops about infill. They've been doing it in Richmond for 20 million years. And Hector knows that because he came from Richmond. And we talked about that. And so, this is not anything new to you, I know. And we're fortunate to have you with the rest of the team so that, we can get some policies set forth. And then with the inclusionary policy, I'm looking forward to seeing that draft. I know we said mid-2026. Do we know June, July, maybe my birthday present or something? Maybe July, is that what we're thinking?
Yeah, so I could go ahead and address that.
Okay.
Actually, something that Chair Taylor brought up earlier. So we've been working diligently on following up from our study sessions in November, where we had the feedback from both the Planning Commission and City Council to draft the ordinances. We have surveyed the jurisdictions that are in Solano County, as well as some of the outside jurisdictions like El Cerrito, Hayward. We also included Pasadena in there, and we basically took a look at all of the components of their inclusionary housing ordinance, and we developed, in consultation with our city attorney's office and our assistant city manager, a Vallejo-specific outline of what the ordinance will look like for the city of Vallejo. We just finished that, I think, a couple of weeks ago. The piece that we're waiting on currently is a written nexus study from EPS. That will basically recommend the amounts for the in lieu fees, what to set those at, as well as the commercial linkage fee. Once we have that, then city attorney's job is going to be drafting the ordinance based on the policy outline that we developed with them. So maybe Laura could speak to, in terms of the timing, once we get the nexus study, we'll be receiving that at the end of next week. And then we'll be turning it over to the city attorney's office to draft the ordinance, I think maybe a couple of months. And then we actually will also be putting that draft out for public review and comment, 30-day public review and comment, after which we'll bring it back to the Planning Commission and City Council for consideration. So we did flexibly say mid-2026 we think is feasible, but the exact details are probably going to be up to our city attorney's office, their bandwidth to be able to write the ordinance as soon as possible.
Okay. And then, thank you so much. And I don't know if this is in our purview or not, but I'm going to ask, would it help if the Solano, or if the Tennessee corridor, because there's a lot of legacy businesses on that boulevard, so would it help funding-wise if we turned Tennessee, Sonoma area into a historical business district? Is that what would help us sort of with meeting a lot more of the arena, or getting a lot more funding? Not at all?
My gut is telling me it probably wouldn't help that much. I'm not aware of any funding sources tied to that, and I fear that could add additional hurdles for development review process. But yeah, I'm not aware of any funding for that.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other commissioners have any questions or any comments?
I might have additional after hearing if there's any public input.
All right, sounds good. We can turn it back. All right, so I guess we can open up to the public forum for any comments on public hearing for adopting a resolution for accepting this proposal to present to City Council. So if you can open up the public forum, please.
Thank you, Chair. We do have one member of the public with their hand raised. Crystal Gallegos, please unmute yourself. You have the floor.
Hello, thank you. Yes, can you hear me? I had peace on.
Yes.
Good evening, commissioners. My name is Cristal, and I really want to start first by recognizing this commission's leadership. Sure, if you remember back in December 2024, when Vallejo's housing element, which by the way, at that point was nearly 2 years overdue, this body really played an instrumental role in ensuring program F.1.13, which is what I'm here to talk about tonight, the renter protection housing stability, made sure that was included. And that late night meeting was really important. It really mattered because it showed our city's commitment to, transparency, accountability, and really to the residents most impacted by our housing crisis. So I really want to honor that energy and that work and call us back into that same spirit tonight. I noticed with the arena table that we reviewed, it really makes the situation very plain. Vallejo produced, I think it said only seven very low-income units in 2025, and I think over the 3 years, just 27 in the entire cycle so far. That's like under 3% of what's required, and still hundreds of units still unmet, and we see that low-income production is also still quite far behind. And this pattern it doesn't just address displacement. We know that the rent burden and overcrowding it's not meeting the needs of our Vallejo residents who are most impacted. And these numbers aren't a reflection of, individual staff effort. In fact, planning staff have been engaging well with most folks I know, community partners in great faith and doing their best within real internal constraints. And we understand that the issue is very structural. The city's not been able to implement the housing element programs at the pace required by state law. So on the slide on program F.113, renter protection and housing stability, it illustrates this gap because the housing element required a feasibility study by June 2025, last year, and for community outreach efforts as well. And also another deadline of September 2025, and none of these deliverables were completed. And so this is concerning. And we know that state law requires the APR to identify the local governmental constraints, and our city's own delays, missed deadlines, and lack of timeline are actual themselves governmental constraints. So without naming them, the city can't correct them, and then HCD can't evaluate the compliance, right? So I just want to return to where I began. This body's already shown that it can play a critical role in ensuring Vallejo meets its legal obligations and protections to the residents. The APR before you tonight really has to reflect that truth, that Vallejo is behind on its housing element commitments, especially renter protections, and that we're not on track to meet our RENA obligations yet. And we just need that to be documented in the report. We remain committed to working collaboratively with city staff, planning staff, and anyone in our community who wants to engage in these really important conversations. Thank you.
Through the chair, no other speakers at this time?
Okay, great. Thank you.
Oh, you didn't sign up. Oh, I didn't read it. I'm sorry. You can come on up.
Please.
Technology kind of evades me sometimes, but I thought I pushed the right button. Thank you. Liat Meitzenheimer, and I'm here with Vallejo Housing Justice Coalition, and I'm just wanting to amplify the need to keep the housing element progress as a priority, because as we see, our numbers have not changed for Reno. The city has not met its Reno numbers for decades, and so there is a real urgency to make sure that we stabilize our community that we have here. We know that the city has challenges, but the community is facing challenges as well. Every day we're reading where companies are leaving and people are being displaced because they no longer have a job. We're looking at budget cuts even further from the federal government, so people are always under the trauma of not knowing where they're going to live, how they're going to keep a roof over their head, how they're going to feed their children, how the kids are going to get to school, whether they have a job. And so one of the things that we can do is to make sure that we are discouraging displacement when there is no need, and that we keep the people here that are actually providing economic development for this city, because they are the ones that are participating in the small businesses, paying their taxes, and making sure that people are comfortable here in the city. So we want to make sure that we protect our community as well. So I'm hoping that we continue to move forward with the protections, and that the Planning Commission is also inquiring to make sure that we're on track and that we keep getting updates. We don't want to wait and then 6 months later saying, oh yeah, well, we ran into something else, and so we'll get back to it. And we know we truly appreciate the fact that we've been working with Mr. Rojas. He has been an asset for the city, and we appreciate all the work that he's done and the transparency that he's shown with the commission, and we appreciate the work that we are able to do with him. But we want to also make sure that we continue to push this work forward. We've been working on it in the community for over 5 years, and so we've been waiting patiently for this to move forward, and we're hoping that this year is the year that we see some movement on it and that we are able to implement the changes that are necessary. And I just wanted to amplify also Mr. Blind's comment about infill on Tennessee and on Springs Road. That was part of the general plan update, and we've kind of left that go right now, and that we have locations there that we can put in multi-use structures there, for especially for housing, because there's a lot of buildings that have been empty for years, and then we could bring that business and more prosperity to those neighborhoods as well. So thank you.
All right, thank you for coming up and sharing it with the Planning Commission. Do we have anyone else online, or?
No other speakers at this time, Chair.
Okay, great. And so I want to take this time to acknowledge the speakers that came out and shared their perspective on the general housing plan element. And I think it was, I believe it was very insightful for sharing your perspective for those who are in the actual community. So thank you so much for that. And that type of participation is very much needed for the city of Vallejo to get various perspectives to help move the city forward and take all the information and collectively and go through the process of figuring out how we can refine some of these policies that's in the best interest of everyone in our community. So I'm going to open it up now, close the public forum, and open up back to the commissioners to deliberate, or if they have any questions.
Yes, I just want to challenge staff to get the renter protection and housing stability inclusionary housing ordinance done through City Council approval by the end of this year. That is what I am challenging staff to do. I know that there's a lot of work that needs to be done. You're working with consultants or contractors, but this has been going on too long. It really has.
Through the chair, I will add that that is definitely feasible. We're at a point now where we're mobilized in terms of the renter protection, housing stability program, and the inclusionary. We're at a point where we're going to start either engaging community or developing the ordinances. So I think this is a good point at this point. I just wanted to add that that's totally feasible in terms of the end of the year. And one thing I wanted to add is our director has tasked myself and Cesar to bring monthly updates to you on current development projects that are in the pipeline, as well as long-range planning initiatives. So you'll see me a little bit more often, and appreciated Liat's comment about, having you guys, be well-informed about where we're at so that, 6 months down the line, we don't come up with, an obstacle that you never heard about. So we'll start bringing that to you on a monthly basis.
Any other questions from the commissioners or comments? Go ahead.
It's fine. I just want to thank staff and everybody else for all the work that you do toward trying to get our city to move along, inch along. It is inching along, isn't it? But you know what? We need a attaboy. You guys, I really appreciate all the work you guys do, and I know it's not easy, and there's a lot to it. And on top of that, you don't always see that many results. But if you look around, we've got some development. We've got about 5 or 6 projects of significant size that are coming. And is there a lot of work to do? Yeah. But, I think we just have to keep our nose to the grindstone and keep on pushing. God damn it. This is the city of Vallejo. Nobody seems to get what this place is. And I think somehow that we've got to all get together and figure out a way to let people know. There's a strait of Carquinez runs right by here. Highway 80 goes. I mean, this is a fabulous place. It's just somehow we're not selling it well enough. You know that? It's freaking incredible. I mean, I've lived a lot of places, Denver and New York and St. Louis, and I've visited untold cities. There ain't many like this one. You go down Admiral Callahan there, and you can drive by and there's sailboats, and you can smell the ocean. We gotta let people know what's going on. How the hell is it that Walnut Creek? They don't even have. Do they have a pond over there? I mean, it's sad, really. It's really sad. This place, when I moved here I got here back in '89, and I lived in San Ramon for a short while. And then I heard about Vallejo, and I came and I lived in Glen Cove. And I noticed, like any mixed population, that it had a tinge, Sorry, folks, but we're going to get real here. So get up around 30-40% African American or Hispanic, then it gets a tinge, and people are sort of. But I came out here with vision. I've lived right outside of Boulder, Colorado. I mean, I've lived good places, and I thought this place, and it's still a good place, but I just don't get the lack of investment. And I know our planning people. I'm so glad to see you guys have full staff now, right? And a lot of the things having to do with arena and housing is we just haven't had staff, but we do now. So if we can just kind of put a little love in and keep on pushing, and let's not drop our heads, because this we got to let people know. I love people to say something about Vallejo, and then I get an opportunity to point them in a different direction because they don't understand. But thank you, staff. It's great we've got a staff, Cesar, and all of you guys for doing all the work you do. But let's just keep pushing and believe in our little town. And maybe we'll get some roads paved someday soon, huh? How about that? Thank you.
Thank you. I think that was very well put, and I second that idea. Like I stated before numerous times, I fell in love with the city and recognized the options that we have available here. And I think with that, it makes me want. I add emphasis on how we're going to move forward with some of these policies, because the idea is this should be something shared for everyone. These amenities that Commissioner Douglas is speaking of, being close to the water, being access to seeing able to see the sailboats going through, major corridor that is an entryway to the Bay Area through 80 East and 80 West. So thinking about program F113 and arena protection, housing sustainability, as I read here, you have $2.4 million to support a consultant-led feasibility. And I just want to be sure, because like we have a commitment that we can have this information before City Council by the end of the year, but the engagement is estimated to start in 2026. Can you kind of outline what that actually entails, and a realistic timeline, or what to kind of expect throughout the development of that process, so we can kind of just set the right precedence for everyone and help me understand if I misinterpret anything with that dialogue?
Yeah, certainly. So we are actually interviewing the consultant teams tomorrow. By the end of the week, we should know which team we're going to recommend to the City Council in terms of preparing the specific plan update for the downtown specific plan. That's where the renter protection and anti-displacement policies are actually going to happen as part of that initiative, and it's actually $1.3 million for that particular specific plan update. So once we get the consultant under contract, which will probably be another 30 days at the least, we will be kicking off that community engagement around the anti-displacement policies. That's going to be one of the first line items that we're going to really grill our consultants on, is how fast can we deliver the public engagement, and what is that going to look like? So that's particularly why we haven't been able to nail down specific milestones and an overall time frame for that housing element program, is because we are listening to the consultant teams, what they're proposing should be the community engagement. At the minimum, though, that's going to require some public workshops, both in person, some pop-ups, online interactions, looking at our community-based organizations that are already working in those areas to bring the people that they've been working thus far to those community meetings, but also looking at the other side of the coin, which is, we have people that are living in rental units, but we also have people that are renting those out, and doing community outreach to those. And so being able to balance those voices and their concerns, it's going to be a balancing act, really. So we want to represent both sides, if you will, equitably, and bring that hard decision to both the Planning Commission and the City Council as to, based on that community input and the feasibility studies, do we still want to move in that direction, and how should we tweak the program so that we take those disparate viewpoints and real consequences or issues into account, so that we don't we don't have any unintended consequences and we didn't have to go back and correct. So it's going to be a very detailed process, and hopefully once we have that consultant, I think what we might be able to do is bring you an update and show you the scope of work with task by task deliverables in terms of community engagement and specific milestones with dates, so that what's coming in advance of that end of the 2026 deadline.
Great, thank you. That's the only questions I have as of right now. Do any other fellow planning commissioners or any questions or comments? All right, great. Well, thank you again. I do want to thank the Planning Commission. Yes, definitely thank the Planning Commission, because you guys have a lot of great ideas and questions, which we'll be able to flesh out some of these ideas for the public. And the Planning Department, thank you so much for your work and working diligently on these policies and moving things forward. I know it's a lot of work, considering that we're dealing with constraints, but you guys showed exemplary efforts to make it almost seem seamless. So thank you very much for that. So I guess we can open it up now to a vote if we want to move forward and recommend this to City Council. So I motion to adopt a resolution accepting and recommending City Council approval of the General Plan and Housing Element Annual Progress Report for the calendar year 2025.
Second.
Yeah, second.
We have 5 ayes and the motion carries. Apologies, 6 ayes and the motion carries.
All right, great, thank you. And again, thank you for the presentation, and thank you, fellow commissioners and the planning department. All right, so we're going to move to the next agenda item, which is written communications.
Through the chair, we have not received any written communications for this evening.
All right, thank you. And so we're going to move to the next agenda item is report of the presiding officer and members of the Planning Commission. We'll start with agenda item 9A, the secretary report.
Through the chair, I'm going to actually jump in on this one tonight. We have a PowerPoint presentation that I wanted to test drive with this group and see if we can get your thoughts on it. Basically, we heard the comments that were shared at the last meeting about providing some more regular updates on things that are happening on a regular basis throughout the department. So we put together kind of a little template presentation report that we're thinking we can use once a month to share standard information and kind of bring you predictable information to help tell that story as we kind of go forward. So this is what we have. First slide. Thought it might be helpful to start out with touching on some recent city council actions or updates. Most importantly, there was a meeting on the 24th, just last week, I believe. The council had a very important conversation about the mid-year budget. There also was a presentation that was provided by Economic Development and myself for the Planning and Development Services Department related to our 2025 year-end summary. So I actually prepared a pretty detailed year-end summary report that you can get on our planning webpage. This is the link to it. It's kind of a shortcut link. A lot of good information there with a lot of data about what we did in the department last year. Let's see. And then the other important item from that meeting was that at the very end of the meeting, there was some direction provided by Council Member Matias that is going to be specific for the ad hoc subcommittee that we are going to be talking about in relation to preparation of a work plan. He tasked the Planning Commission with a very focused assignment to take a look at existing general plan policy areas related to certain business corridors and mixed use areas, which is kind of fitting for the discussion we just had, and to look for opportunities to streamline development and look for ways to maybe increase density and then provide back some formal recommendations to the City Council. So if the group tonight decides to take that step 2 of 2 and set up the ad hoc subcommittee, this is going to be one of the first things that staff will help you kind of work on. So slide. Upcoming actions. Cesar, do you want to jump in on this slide?
Yeah, for the first meeting in April, we have a major use permit and a public convenience or necessity for the request to add off-site alcohol sales for an existing grocery store located at 480 Redwood Street. We also do have the Fairview at Northgate plan development and housing amendment. This is what's known as the Costco project. This is going to be coming back before the Planning Commission, where there is a request for an amendment to increase the density on the residential component from 175 units to 245. They're proposing a new type of product that we haven't seen here in Vallejo, which is a clustered development with 3 units on one parcel with a condo map. So it's a shared common area where there's 2 detached single-family residences facing the street. There's a proposal of 3 2-car garages that are off of an alley with another unit above it. And then, of course, with around the edges, there'll be detached single-family residences. They're actually also including a neighborhood park that wasn't part of the original proposal, and the linear park is continuing to be proposed as part of the amendment, as well as Hector Rojas, Laura Zagaroli, and myself, we've been working on the update of the ADU ordinance, which will be coming before the Planning Commission with the recommendation to City Council, is to make essentially bringing our ADU ordinance that the City Council adopted back in 2021 and bringing it up to the new regulations that the state has created for ADUs. So that will be coming tentatively before the Planning Commission, making a recommendation to the City Council.
Thank you. And just a reminder, all of those dates are tentative, so they could change. Next slide, we thought moving forward, we actually track on a monthly basis the permit activity in the building division. Thought this might be something that would be interesting for this group. As of right now, I just have the year-end total information to share. This is something that was included in the year-end report, but it's kind of interesting to see that last year we had less overall permits issued in the building division. However, the job valuation for the work that was done was significantly higher, which meant we collected a lot more in fees than the prior year. So just kind of an interesting thing to note. Also, our building inspectors did over 11,000 inspections last year, which is a lot of inspections. So I just think that's kind of a cool data point to mention. And then lastly here, we have a couple slides just to kind of talk about some of these advanced planning projects. I think we've talked on most of these tonight, so maybe we don't need to review them again, but this is definitely the point where we can invite Hector to provide any additional updates. I don't know if there's anything else to add on these items.
No, I think the slide does a really good job of summarizing everything. Happy to answer any questions you have on any of those.
Yeah, we have, I think, one more slide with some long range. These two I don't think we talked about. You want to jump in?
Yeah, sure. So for the environmental justice general plan amendments, this was something that the city hired PlaceWorks to do, I think starting in 2022. So this was one of the initiatives that I picked up when I first came on board, and we've been working with our director as well as our city attorney's office and a few others in the city to review the draft work that was put together by PlaceWorks. We are just making the final modifications to the draft documents, and those will be hopefully, fingers crossed, submitted for public review and comment at the end of this week. Might go into next week, but these are amendments that are prepared to satisfy the SB or Senate Bill 1000 requirements. Essentially, when we update our housing element, we're required to look at incorporating an element or policies and goals into the general plan that address environmental justice to allow for better health outcomes in our community, to provide better connections, to make decisions more equitably. So for example, as we're looking at future capital improvement projects, the list of CIP projects in the city, there will be potentially a focus more on having prioritization in disadvantaged communities or census tracts that are more heavily burdened by pollution or health outcomes. So that might be a policy outcome from this work. Again, we're hopefully providing a public and review comment at the end of this week, and you'll see a press release for that hopefully on Friday. As far as the Mare Island specific plan, we've been working on that since October of 2024, reviewing the draft specific plan. We had submitted those to all of our departments to review and provide comment. About 3 weeks ago, we submitted a official comment letter to Mare Island Company that is going to trigger a second draft of the specific plan to address the city's concerns, the city staff's concerns. So hopefully we will have a revised land use plan to come back and present to you so that you know what we submitted or what we received in October of 2024, what's been changing in terms of the potential vision and land use for Mare Island. So right now at this point we have a special study session that we're trying to coordinate between the Planning Commission and City Council, similar to what we did for the inclusionary housing policy, to provide you with an update on the specific plan, give you a 101 in terms of what's included there, and potentially get feedback before we drift more towards a final version of the land use plan, which will be instrumental for basing the environmental review, which we have already started. There's another kink in terms of what we're doing on environmental. Normally we just do CEQA, which is going to be a programmatic and project-based environmental impact report. But we're also needing to comply with the National Environmental Protection Act, NEPA. So there is a document that we're going to be preparing alongside with the CEQA document. We're working with the Navy to determine what level of environmental review they're going to be requiring. So that's the update on that, and we'll provide some more details in April once we're able to nail down that special study session with you guys in the City Council.
So that's it. I feel like moving forward, we will, if you think this is helpful, we can continue to kind of provide regular updates. We can try and keep it short and sweet and relevant to, the most recent things that are happening. But if you have any feedback, we'd love to take it.
I'm all for feedback. I like the progress. I like the flow. It keeps us engaged because we're up here and we can vote on a project and we won't remember it until it's fully developed sometimes. And it's because it's out of sight, out of mind, so that follow-up is important. So I appreciate you taking the time to do it.
Yeah, I really want this. I've been asking for this for a while. Now, you directed us to this website, .net.pds. Is that the literal spreadsheet that all the projects are listed on? Or?
No, actually, that is the landing page for our department on the city's website.
Okay.
At the bottom of that page, we added a link to this specific report, which was prepared specifically for the 2025 year end. And it's a little bit more, there's a lot of narrative in there, so.
Yeah, I've seen it.
But this is something we can go and look at and kind of keep ourselves abreast of kind of what you guys think are important, and maybe we can know what we're doing, huh? I think it's great. Thank you. Yeah.
Oh, no, I was just going to say thank you to the director and Caesar, Hector, and the staff. You guys, I think it was a good job. It definitely helps, and we appreciate it.
One more thing. The projects that, for some reason or another, do not, or that stop or do not go forward, I think it would be really interesting and just, just a heads up for us, things that we've approved, but for some reason they're not going to move forward.
I'll take note of that. I will add, I was also thinking about adding kind of a short list of some of the projects that were approved at director level, just so you can see, because those don't always, come up. Didn't have time to pull that together for this one, but maybe next month we'll add that in.
Yep. Yeah, I think that would be great, that some of the director level ones. Another aspect, first of all, thank you. I really appreciate this. This is the kind of information that I think is very valuable for us to be able to be advocates, be able to understand what's going on, help answer questions when people ask us random questions in the grocery store or other places when they're like, "You're on the planning commission, aren't you? You must know the answer to this." The addition that would be nice on there is, I know we routinely get, kind of some zoning code cleanup. If there's anything there that you see that's coming, that would be a nice recurring topic where you're like, hey, we're looking at this. We're seeing that this is a snag in our permitting process. There's a loophole that we'd like to see closed. That would be another nice one to kind of see how that goes before it comes to us for a vote. That would be really helpful. And then if we could get a copy of this emailed to us after the meeting, and then we can make use of all those nice links that you have in there. And click on these things and follow that out. That would be really helpful.
Just a quick response. I think actually one thing we can do is just publish this slide as part of the supplemental application materials in the packet so that it's on the website associated with the meeting date and anybody can go grab it. And then also the zoning cleanup, we actually find those all the time. And we have a list of a zoning issue tracker that we kind of try to document all of those things to keep track of them all. So that's how we're doing it internally. I'm not sure that all of them are going to rise to the level of coming to the meetings as we go, but if we find anything major, we can definitely share those.
Yeah, things like trends or things that you're cleaning up, especially that maybe have been a headache for people, that we can, if those people come to us and say, this has been a headache, we can say, well, actually, the staff is working on that. They hear that pain and they're trying to solve for it. Would be really helpful.
Yes, no, this was great. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And there's one question I have for those items that were on your presentation. If we request to, go into a deep dive with some of those policy or some of the work that the planning department is working on, how much notice will we need to provide you with so we can just do a deep dive so we can give you ample time to properly prepare it in addition to your busy work schedule and working on all the other more important projects that move things forward, the city forward?
That's a great question, and I'm going to say it probably depends on the item. So if there's something that comes up during maybe one of our, staff report outs, then I would say bring it up then, and we can assess it at that time and figure out how much time we would need to be able to come back with more information. So case by case is
Yes.
what I would suggest.
All right, great. Well, thank you. I appreciate it. And thank you for the presentation. That was extremely helpful. So if there's no other questions or any comments, we can move to the next agenda item, 9C, the report of the chairperson and members of the commission. As of right now, I don't have anything to report. Do any of my fellow commissioners have anything to share or report? All right, so we can move to 9D, which is report of the ad hoc subcommittees. We don't have a subcommittee at this moment, but this is a great segue into the next agenda item, which is step 2 of 2, the creation of a work plan ad hoc subcommittee. Excuse me, so I can start off there. So, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Through the chair, I'm going to be looking at Assistant City Attorney Laura Zagarelli just to make sure I'm understanding the next steps. So, step 2 out of 2 tonight is where we're going to kind of create specific goals and a deadline for the ad hoc subcommittee to.
No.
No. Okay, go ahead.
This is where you vote to put it on the agenda.
We did.
This is where you take a vote to put it on the agenda, correct? Yes? No. That was where you took yeah. It's a 2-step. One is where it's a 2-step process to get it on the agenda. And then once it's on the agenda, then you make the subcommittee.
Okay, so let me see if I can clarify the question here. So we need to add this onto agenda to have a vote to have it added onto the agenda before we can actually start the creation of a work plan?
Correct.
Perfect. Okay. Thank you. That was very helpful.
Okay.
Great.
I move to put it on the agenda. Is that what we do now?
Yes, I second.
I third.
10th, I'm just kidding.
This is so complicated.
I think it's a lot of thought goes into it. Yeah, no, I've been
I need
mapping this out.
3 more votes. We have 6 ayes and the motion carries.
Work plan. Yes. All right. Okay, great. Thank you. So I do have a question in related to what we have just passed by putting this on the agenda. Just at a high level, what should we expect at the next meeting, or is there anything that we should be prepared to present or we should be aware of before our next meeting to put together a subcommittee, a work plan for the ad hoc subcommittee?
Oh, well, it has to be less than a quorum, so you have to decide amongst you who really wants to be on it and who really doesn't want to be on it. Because if you really want to be on it, but a lot of you really want to be on it, some of you are not going to make it onto the subcommittee. So, because you're now you're a 6-member board, you can only have 3, because it takes 4 of you to take an action. So it has to be less than 4.
Okay,
And then you have to have a goal or a set of goals, and you have to have a general, like you either have to have a defined goal so that the subcommittee has a defined termination of the committee, which would be when you've finished the goal, or you have a date Like, we're going to meet for 6 months, and we'll come back at the end of 6 months. So, like, it has to have a finite term. So it's either defined by a date or by a goal. So, does that make sense?
Yes.
Question. When I initially proposed this, it was for the work plan. Now it seems like it's going to be morphed into additional requirements from Councilperson Matias and what he challenged from the Planning Commission.
Well, what I was going to say, or what I said silently, was that one council member cannot direct anybody to do anything.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a suggestion.
Right.
So you don't have to follow it.
That
Unless
was-
they all voted on it. Okay, well, she corrected me, and they all voted on it. So we could
Oh, they
review
all
the
voted,
tape,
okay.
and I can tell you next time.
But can,
So,
I'm sorry, I was there. I mean, I was listening in, and they did vote on that item. However, I think that the nature of it could be folded into some of the goals that you're looking at as part of your work plan. So I think it is in alignment with that.
well, are we allowed to have a generalized discussion about work plan and what that means and what each of us are sort of,
yeah, because.
just an open forum kind of thing? I mean, yeah. 'Cause-
I was just going to say, to prepare us, I think it would be helpful, I think we should anticipate having a little deliberation amongst ourselves about what the work plan could entail, that then the ad hoc subcommittee, whoever they may be, can then take forward and implement. If we could ask of staff for examples, templates, something that you think is a good form for this work plan, that would be helpful. I'm not asking it to be filled out, but.
I know of 2 good ones, so I could share 2.
What's that?
I know of 2 good work
Okay.
plans. One of them may be draft, but it's good. And then there's another one that was adopted by council last year, so I can share that one.
I think that would be very helpful as we think about and deliberate what we think ours could include, just have a reference of what these look like.
Yeah.
How many, through the chair, how many goals can we have within the work group? Is there a cap on the number of goals
I
that we
think
can
that's-
set?
I think that's a good question. I think that's where, if we have a work plan and we draft this out and determine, okay, what is our mission statement, what's going to be, what is our objectives are, and probably within those objectives might have, subtasks in there that might be in alignment with it, where we're dealing with 2 or 3 while we're looking at the overall picture of it. So I think it will be something that we can reasonably come to an understanding on, because we have to consider what our capacity level is and the scope of our work within the legal frame and our knowledge and expertise. And at the perfect time, Councilmember Matula, can you please chime in and give us some guidance on this, please?
I'd be happy to. And as I mentioned, tomorrow's special city council meeting, we have several work plans that we're going to be reviewing and approving. So I would recommend if you guys can take a look at that, at the tomorrow's agenda, and look at the work plans that are being proposed to present in front of us. That may be a good baseline to kind of look at, and obviously specify to what you as a planning commission, obviously your role is going to be different from some of the other commissions and boards, but kind of use that maybe as a guideline or maybe as a template to use. And many of them may be more budget related, so that may or may not impact some of the things that you may be looking at. But once again, using Councilmember Matias as kind of what his idea was, and potentially looking at some of the other specific things that you as a planning commission are looking for. And once again, this is an ad hoc commission where the non-majority of you will be throwing out ideas, but then ultimately you as a commission will be voting on what the ultimate work plan may be to present in front of the city council. So that would be my recommendation, suggestion.
Great, thank you. And one important question I have is even when we're in the process of putting together this committee, because we will have to have the members selected first before we even start thinking about a mission or a strategy and collaborating on that piece. What would be the proper steps to establish the three? Do we vote or nominate ourselves? And after we have it on the agenda, that will be the time we'll do this?
I'll just jump in. To be honest, this is my first time going through this process as well. So I'm going to suggest that we actually prepare a short staff report to help guide you through this process at the next meeting so you know exactly what we're looking for and what your steps are. So we'll give that to you in advance.
And through the chair, another recommendation I may have is, having gone through this process in the past, is to avoid any Brown Act violations, is if you have any recommendations, forward those recommendations to staff, and they can send out an email to each of you to where you can ultimately be BCC'd in them to where you can have your own. But once again, to avoid Brown Act violations, forward any thoughts or ideas through staff first and have them help communicate the mass communication between you as a commission.
Great, thank you so much, I appreciate that. Any other questions or comments? All right, great.
One last thing I was just going to say, coming from being that our councilmen and women have given some sort of direction, so I pay attention to what people don't say, and I think it's important for us to pay attention to that because there is some underlying things that may be needing to be either addressed or looked at, worked on, or reviewed. And I challenge us as a group to work in tandem with our leadership, and that's all I'm going to say.
I agree, and challenge accepted. Great. So if there's no other question or any other comments, thank you, Councilmember Matulik, for your guidance. I appreciate it. So if there's any other questions or comments, I think we can close out this line item, and we can move to the final adjournment and close the Planning Commission meeting at 8:24.